Hi students, and welcome back to another exciting day of Teleschool with Mrs. Patterson and Miss Felix. Our goal this week is to be able to describe settings and events in stories. So this is lesson 8 in your packet. Specifically, if you're looking for the standard, this is going to be ELA GSE 4 RL3. But all that means is that our goal is to be able to use specific details in a story to describe the setting in depth, use specific details in the story to describe the events in depth, and understand how one event leads to another to create a complete story. So yesterday we left off reading a story called Meeting Grandma. It was about two kids going to the airport to pick up their grandmother, but I know our video got cut short right at the end. So I just wanted to go over the answers with you all. On the graphic organizer that you all filled out, where it said setting, we should have put that where and when that story takes place was inside of the airport on a hot summer day. We then, for our first event, put that two kids go to an airport with their parents to pick up their grandma. Our next event, the one in the middle, we never went over because I wanted to see if you guys could get it on your own, is that the family loses track of time when the kids get cold smoothies and drink them slowly. That is a huge event in our story because it leads to them not being at the gate to pick up their grandmother and their grandmother having to come find them, which is our last event. We then had to tell how the setting affected the family's actions and how it led to the very last event. I was looking for two complete sentences that are similar to the ones here. The kids were excited by what they could do at the airport, which was getting smoothies, and their grandmother had to search for them because they lost track of time. So that's an example of cause and effect. So because they lost track of time drinking their smoothies, the effect was that their grandmother had to come and find them. Number 3, you all should have talked that out and decided how the setting is ultimately influencing our characters and stories. But the very last part, you all were to write a short response. So whenever we have you all write a short response, we're just looking for a paragraph, all complete sentences. Each of your sentences should have swag. They should start with capital letters. They should be written neatly. They should have a space in between each word and then the appropriate given punctuation at the end. So that's what we mean when we say sentences have swag. So the example response was that the setting is a very hot day at the airport. The kids in the story have never been to an airport, so they are excited. So this is how our setting is impacting them. They're super excited. Since it is so hot, that's part of our setting, they beg for smoothies. So that's one of our events. So we see how our settings are lining up with our events. When their parents buy smoothies for them, they take their time drinking them and lose track of time. Meanwhile, their grandmother's plane lands and she comes looking for them, worried that they were lost. So all of that is just a review from yesterday's text, but we are done with yesterday. Today is now March 26th. If you are on track, I messed up the date for yesterday, but today should be Thursday, March 26th that you all are completing this. Go ahead and open up your packets to the story called Baseball Lessons. If you look at the top, we see that it says the genre, the category of this story is going to be a realistic fiction story, which means that what we're about to read could be true. Everything that we're reading is going to sound like it could be true, could actually happen, but it's realistic fiction, fake, because we don't know 100% that they are true. We don't know if these characters are made up or not. So please join me as we read the story Baseball Lessons by Bianca Gomez. As I go through, I want you to please take the time to put a check mark above any confusing words or phrases that you might need some assistance with later on. And then try to actually figure out the words on your own by looking inside, looking around, and beyond each of those unknown words and phrases to try to figure out its meaning on your own. Use those context clues. So I'm going to be reading. I'm only going to read down to paragraph number 4, and then from there, I want you to read independently on your own. So that way we are doing this together. I'm going to help you get through the first 3 paragraphs, and you're going to do the last couple on your own. This is called Baseball Lessons by Bianca Gomez, and it is a realistic fiction genre. Paragraph 1. For weeks, Elena's brothers had been promising to teach her how to play baseball. Today, though, when she pestered them to join a game, Jorge said no. "Go away, little one," he explained. "This game is for expert players." How dare he call her little one? Paragraph 2. Elena slammed the door hard and stumped into the kitchen where her grandmother was busy making the evening meal. Elena threw down her backpack and slumped in a chair. Jorge and Hector won't teach me how to play baseball, abuela, she grumbled. They won't let me play because I don't even know how to catch, throw, or hit the ball. But how will I ever learn unless someone teaches me? Ah, chica, this is your lucky day, smiled abuela. In my youth, I had quite the reputation for being a good pitcher. We'll have to start some practice sessions outside. So as I said, I'm only going to be reading through the first 3 paragraphs. You all need to now take this time to finish the remaining 4 paragraphs, so paragraphs 4 through 7. Remember to put a check mark on any unknown words and either get some assistance from your family or take the time to try to use those context clues to figure them out. If you are being a great reader, you are using your close reader habits, which says that we are trying to read as we go along and think about what is Jorge's attitude toward Elena at the beginning of the story. Why does it change? And if you can't figure it out, take the time to reread the story because that's what good readers do. As we go along, because our focus is always on the setting as well as the events and how they're impacting each other, I want you to underline the details that show why Jorge's attitude towards Elena changes, because that's going to give us a big clue on how what is going on in our story, those events, are impacting one another. I hope that you took the time to pause that video and read the remainder of the story, but I'm going to just check real quick to see how well you comprehended what was in there with just a few questions. I only have 3. My first one, why is Elena unhappy at the beginning of the story? The correct answer should be that her brothers won't let her join their baseball game, so that's why she's unhappy. Question 2. How does Elena learn to play baseball? The correct answer, as we started to see a little bit from what I read out loud in paragraph 3, is that her abuela teaches her. Question 3. What happens at the end of the story? So this is a big check to see, did you read it all the way through? What happens at the end of this story? The correct answer is that Elena shows she can make a good catch and she is invited to join the game. So she finally gets brought in. She knows exactly what's going on. Now, if you were following those good habits for a great reader, then you would have taken the time to underline details that show why Jorge's attitude changes towards Elena. So if you did that correctly, some of the details that you would have underlined in this story would include the following. Sorry, give me one moment. I'm just scrolling up a little bit. Boom, right there. So some of the details would include, "Go away, little one," he exclaimed. "This game is for expert players." How dare he call her little one? So that's important because that tells us what Jorge is thinking about Elena at the beginning. Now we need to look for those details that prove that he changed throughout the story. If you look down in paragraph 5, you'll see underlined, Jorge tried to send her away. But then one of his friends threw Elena a long, high ball. Reaching up with her glove, she made the catch easily. "Wow," said Jorge. "How did you learn to catch like that?" So already we can see, because she was given the opportunity to prove herself, that she's shown that she's learned, and she kind of earned Jorge's respect. So his attitude towards her has changed just that quickly. And then in paragraph 7 it says, "Well, if Abuela taught you, you must be good, because she taught Hector and me too." He laughed and nudged her gently. "Welcome to the game." So we see by the end of the story, Jorge is now more accepting of Elena, and he lets her join the game with Hector and himself. So now that we're done reading that story, this is where you all have to take over and do some work as well. So let's go back to your packets. We're going to go to our next page, and we see that we have some multiple choice questions and a short response that we have to do. So let's go through this step by step, and we're going to get it all done. Question number 1, it wants you to reread paragraph number 2. Which 2 events result from what Elena says about her brother's unwillingness to teach her to play baseball? So you got a lot going on here. Remember, whenever we study for a test, whenever we answer multiple choice questions, we have to really read that question to figure out what do they want to know from us. So the very first thing is that we have to reread paragraph 2. So go back up. Paragraph 2, very quickly, it says, Elena slammed the door hard and stumped into the kitchen where her grandmother was busy making the evening meal. Elena threw down her backpack and slumped in a chair. Jorge and Hector won't teach me how to play baseball, Abuela, she grumbled. They won't let me play because I don't even know how to catch, throw, or hit the ball. But how will I ever learn unless someone teaches me? So we want to know which 2 events, and remember, events are the things that happen. Which 2 events result? So which 2 events happen because Elena says those things about her brother being unwilling or not willing to teach her to play baseball? So for this one, you are expected to circle 2 answers, which is why the word 2 is in bold. If we continue, question number 2, it reads, which details best describe the settings in the story? If we remember the word setting, we know that that is where and when a story takes place. That can be the time of day. That can be the time of year. It could be the season. And it also can be where, whether it's a school, at a church, at a hotel, but the actual location, where and when a story takes place, is what our setting is trying to describe. So this one says, which details best describe the settings in the story? Remember, whenever we see the word best in a multiple choice question, there could be more than one correct answer, but we're looking for the best one, the one that beats all of the rest. So please take the time to go ahead and circle which detail best describes the setting, where and when this story takes place. The very last thing that you need to do, while you are always welcome to talk about it, which here for number 3, our talk is which story events explain the change in Jorge's attitude towards Elena. So what actually happens in the story that makes him change how he treats his sister? And then it says, what does Elena learn that makes him change his mind? List the events in the chart on page 127. You guys actually don't have the page 127, so don't worry about this. This one is just one for you to talk about. But we do need you to do question number 4. We are trying to make sure that we are all being amazing writers. So please take the time to look at question number 4. It asks you to describe the events that led to a change in Jorge's attitude towards Elena. So we're giving details that are from the text. It even then says, include story details to support your response. That last part where it says use the space provided on page 127 to write your response, you all actually do not have page 127 in your packets. So please simply write this on a sheet of paper and include it with your packet for this week, because we don't want you to lose your writing and we want to make sure that you are getting credit for everything that you are doing. So you're going to write a short response. We are only looking for a paragraph, just 5 sentences at most, that are telling us the events, what happened in the story. And we want those major events. What are the ones that really changed the way that Jorge viewed his sister Elena? So go through, please take the time to reread the text and make sure that you include at least 2 different details, at least 2 different sentences from our story that prove how Jorge's attitude towards his sister Elena have changed. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you all the answers just for what we are looking for to make sure that you can double check yourself and see if you are on target. So these would be the answers for questions 1 and 2. And here is an example response for what we were looking for question number 4. It says, in the beginning of the story, Jorge and Hector will not let Elena play baseball with them. Elena complains to her abuela that no one will teach her how to play. So abuela, a good ball player herself, takes on the task. After a few weeks of practice, Elena shows off her new skills by catching a fly ball, and Jorge welcomes Elena to the game. So ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our lesson for the day. Remember, our goal this week is to be able to describe the setting and events in a story and how the setting impacts the different events that occur in our story. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Have a wonderful day and get outside in your yard